Welcome back to Kaleidoscope. Pennsylvania is covered with great trails in both state and national parks. However, one particular trail located north in the Allegheny National Forest stands out as a destination trail worth the trip and the hike. Cody Magill, a Tionesta resident and avid trail goer and outdoorsman, shares his experiences with us and why this one is such an awesome trail.
We're in Tionesta right now in the Allegheny National Forest. I believe it's, 500,000 acres in my backyard, so there's lots of places to adventure. I like to do a lot of kayaking, so there's the Allegheny River here, the Clarion River, Tionesta Creek. I started doing some hiking in my local state park where I used to live down in Lawrence County, so McConnell's Mill Moraine, that sort of thing. And then I moved up this way into Tionesta and found the National Forest and all the opportunities that are here. I started doing longer trips, doing things that were a little bit out of my comfort zone, but they eventually became in my comfort zone. One of the main reasons I like to hike around here is I like to do a lot of backpacking, and with the National Forest, you're free to camp anywhere you want, pretty much. So there's a lot of opportunities for backpacking around here. Some of my favorite trails would be the Minister Creek Trail and the Tan Bark Trail, and of course the North Country Trail goes the whole way through the forest. A couple years ago in the spring, I took about a week off to do part of the North Country Trail, and I went from Route 66 to Minister Creek, which I think was about 45 miles. It's 5 days in the woods. That was really enjoyable. I took 5 days worth of food along. I had another 5 days cached halfway along the trail, but I never quite made it that far. I just kind of enjoyed taking my time more than trying to bang out the miles and enjoying the scenery and all the wonderful campsites.
What do you like best about hiking?
Probably the solitude. Plenty of opportunities for that in the Allegheny National Forest. There's a lot of trails and a lot of people use them, but there's enough of them that you're not really on top of each other like you would be at a state park. So I had bought a book called 50 Hikes in Western Pennsylvania, and I made it a point to try to do as many of them as I could. I was aiming for all 50. A lot of them were in the National Forest, and I really hadn't been in this area before, so that's kind of what brought me here. The way it described the Minister Creek Trail, I knew it was one that I had to do, and that was actually the first hike I ever did in the Allegheny National Forest. Tionesta, we're about half an hour from the Minister Creek Trail, and I feel that's one of the nicest trails in the western part of the state. It's about an 8-mile loop, and it makes for a nice long day hike or even a good beginning backpacking hike. You can take it over a couple days. The halfway point of the trail is where it intersects with the North Country Trail. You can come at it from a variety of different ways. Instead of just the parking lot, you can come at it from the North Country Trail from the east or the west. And right at that midpoint where it meets the North Country Trail, there's an area called Triple Forks where the creek goes into 3 different forks, and there's a bunch of campsites there, so it's a good place to spend the night. The Minister Creek Trail is pretty cool because it has a lot of what you'll find in the National Forest, but in one kind of concentrated area. It has the big rocks and rock cities that you can explore. It has some old growth trees. It has a really beautiful mountain stream that you can follow, and it has great campsites. I do a lot of hammock camping rather than a tent. I got to this campsite, it was still early in the day, so I set up my hammock and I was laying there reading. And I guess I was just so engrossed in the book that I wasn't paying attention. And when I finally looked up, there were probably 5 or 6 deer all around me eating. And that didn't really notice me because I was so still reading my book. Several years ago, it was the first day of deer season, and I decided I was going to go backpacking and camping at Minister Creek. On one of the loops up there, it's called the South Loop. It takes you along this sandstone ridge, and it's maybe 50 feet wide and a drop off on either side, so I figured I was safe from hunters there. They weren't really calling for any bad weather, but that was one day. I went to bed and it was nice, and then the morning when I woke up, I was in about 6 inches of snow.
You had to hike back.
I had to hike back, yeah. It wasn't too bad. I would encourage the average hiker to come here just for the outstanding scenery and the chances for solitude. And it's a really nice trail with lots of rocks and places to explore. And I think you'll find it's different than anywhere else in the state. It's really its own unique place.